It's Shawn here for Streaming Media Producer at NAB 2024. I'm here with Richard from Allen Heath, and we're going to be talking about the CQ series of audio mixers. So let's start off here. In front of us, we have a CQ18T.
Correct.
So what kind of a market is this product designed for? I mean, it's an all-in-one. It's not like an analog board, right, that has all the faders, and it's so compact, but I mean, 16 XLR inputs. Who's this designed for?
Well, I would think about it as a context where you'd normally use an analog console,
Yeah.
And you wanted to, get the benefits of digital, like having compression and EQ and gates and effects built in, and all the benefits of wireless control and things like that. So where you'd normally use an analog console, like at a corporate gig or a small garage band or a home recording, all of those places you can easily swap out a CQ and get all the benefits of digital, and still kind of, it kind of occupies the same space.
Yeah. So the first thing that users will notice is that there's a lack of physical faders on there, but what controls are available on the CQ series that make up for that?
Yeah, so there's obviously you can control everything through the touchscreen, but
Yep.
the CQ18T features some physical controls on it
Yep.
that will help you get that precision that you may want from tactile controls.
Okay.
So there's this main encoder that's kind of the, you touch and turn, so you can touch any parameter on the screen
Okay.
and adjust it and you get really fine control. Then there's also these smart encoders that will follow whatever's on screen. They'll change color to indicate what you have selected, and it's very intuitive to know exactly what you're controlling.
Yeah.
And you can also program them to specific functions. So if
Okay.
you don't want them to necessarily follow the screen, you always want access to, say, your main level or a particular input channel, you can assign those to those encoders and they'll always have access to them regardless of what screen you're on.
Okay. So that gives you that precision that you want when because the rotaries work really well on there, but you can also use the touchscreen, and the capacitive touchscreen works really well. How many touch points can you have at the same time on there?
That's a good question. I think it's about 3 or 4 that you can
Yep.
control at the same time. So you could adjust about 4 faders using
Yeah.
your fingers. Personally, I'm still more of a touch and turn guy.
So out of the box, when you turn this unit on, users can either just operate it from scratch and set up each input with their own parameters, but there's also a bunch of presets. So in our market, we do a lot of corporate and conferences, and it's mainly vocals, but you also cover off band type of formats. If you have a small garage band or a larger jazz ensemble, there's different presets that are built in there for different configurations, and then beyond that, you can then choose to change if you want 2 keyboards or a saxophone or a trumpet or something like that.
Correct. Yeah, there's 2 types of main channels on CQ. There's what we call quick channels,
Yeah.
which are kind of easy one knob control. So, for example, with a vocalist, you'll say, okay, this is a lapel mic, or this is a handheld mic, or this requires some like de-essing. So there'll be really kind of easy one knob controls where you can make simple adjustments if you don't know too much about actual audio mixing.
Yeah.
But if you want to get more nitty gritty and you're a corporate engineer and you really want to be able to access all the fine controls,
Yeah.
you can convert it to what's called a complete channel. And then you'll see parametric EQ, gate, compressor, everything you're used to out of a digital console.
Okay.
And you can access all those functions by converting it to complete.
So let's talk about the EQ. So there's 3 different options available. So where are they used and when?
Yeah, so on every input channel, there's a standard parametric EQ.
Okay.
And then on outputs, you have the option of either using a graphic EQ, or you can use what's called our feedback assistant. And this will replace the graphic EQ, and it will automatically monitor the channel. And so if you start to experience feedback, it will, in real time, do cuts at particular frequencies to eliminate the feedback automatically for you.
Yeah, and that's surgical slices, right? So if you've got a resonant frequency, something causing feedback, you can either ring out the board in advance, or while you're live, you can just have it set up so that it's taking those frequencies and it's slicing them out so that you're not getting that feedback.
Correct. Yeah, and you can either have those frequencies permanently cut out from your
Yep.
mix, or you can have it live adjust so that it cuts it while the feedback is there and then slowly brings it back out. So
Yeah.
you don't lose those frequencies from your actual input channel.
Yeah, and that's nice. Like when you've got a walker and talker, right, with the microphone, and he gets too close to the PA speakers, he causes a bit of feedback. He realizes it. The feedback goes away quickly, but then he goes back into a safe zone. You want to get that range
Correct,
back again.
exactly.
It's
You
kind
don't
of
want to necessarily
self-healing.
lose that from your mix.
In terms of like when you have a panel discussion, we often have the issue, right, where there's multiple people and they're using the microphones and talking over each other, and when you're trying to ride the faders, you end up leaving a lot of open microphones, which isn't always the best, right? It raises the noise floor. Now you guys have the auto mic mixer built in. So how does that work?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So we do have an automatic mic mixer built into all of our CQ series, and basically it will kind of listen for whoever's actually talking, whichever mic is coming through the loudest, and it will duck the other channels to make sure there's no background noise coming through and nobody's interrupting each other. And you can assign priority to particular channels. So if you have the host and you want to make sure that they're not interrupted by a guest necessarily, if you're the most important person on the panel, you can make sure that your mic always has priority over theirs and they can't interrupt you.
It's such a fantastic feature to have built in, right? Because like the speed at which it recovers, it opens those gates is just so fast. You're not really clipping the start of someone's attack on the, when they're using the mic for the first time. Whereas when we're riding the faders, sometimes we've got more than, it's not sub-second latency, right? We're pretty slow on it sometimes to get it up, or we're leaving things open just to be safe. So
so if you're doing a corporate gig and you have a conference, and you can just go on your phone and let the mixer do it for you.
Let's talk about the phone. So you can use the device on the touchscreen itself, but you can also connect this to either a Windows or a Mac computer.
Correct.
As well as iOS or Android
That's right.
phones or tablets for remote control. Now, one of the things I appreciate about it compared to some other brands is that the interface on those remote devices looks the same as the touchscreen.
Mm-hmm.
Every capability is in there, and I'm not having to relearn another GUI, another graphic user interface. So kudos to you guys on designing it like that. That works great.
And that turned out to be necessary because of our CQ20B, which is the only model in the series that doesn't have an actual touchscreen built into it. It was necessary to have an app that had full control of everything you could do from the screen, but do it remotely from your device. Yeah,
and so the 20B, that's the stage box one that you're intended to put that on the stage, and you operate that one remotely.
Correct.
And that has to be Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Is that just Wi-Fi?
Yeah, it's connection. Wi-Fi or Ethernet. So if you can use the integrated Wi-Fi, or if you want to connect it to your facilities network, you can also set it to Ethernet mode and connect it into your other router.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the main difference between them, right, is the number of inputs. A few fewer on the 12. I mean, this is 16 on the 18T.
Yes.
And the 12 would have...
The 12T has 10 mic pre's built in, plus a stereo input, and that one doesn't have integrated Wi-Fi, so you'd have to use an external router. And it's also missing these soft encoders, whereas the 18T does have them.
Okay. Let's talk about USB. There are two USB ports on there, a USB-B and then this guy, I guess that's the A there.
Yeah.
What are they used for?
So the USB-A port, you can record stereo mixdown, and then the USB-B port can do multi-channel recording to or streaming to a computer. So you could easily do, if you have like say a garage band, or if you're just mixing at your church, you can easily record multi-tracks directly to a computer. And there's also an SD card slot, so you can do multi-track recording and playback to SD without a computer around. Yeah,
I mean, all of those features built in on a unit like this is it just makes the value proposition so much greater. In our use case, it's taking the output from here, putting it into live streaming software like vMix or OBS. We don't tend to use the multi-track in that scenario. We'll use a mix down and we'll mix it down in here, but we can also take multiple channels using the ASIO drivers and record every single channel here. But we can also ISO record each channel as well as the outputs and the aux outputs on this SD card, right?
Correct.
Which is really kind of neat. All of this on an SD HC card.
Yeah, when you think about it, like if you wanted to do, say, if you're recording a podcast and you wanted to do an on-site recording with someone who couldn't necessarily come into your studio, you can easily just bring your CQ and an SD card, no need for a computer, record multi-track, use AMM, and then bring it back and mix it on your computer afterwards.
We've talked a little about the USB and the outputs, but inputs as well, right? You can take in a feed from the same connected computer if you want to play back music, or there's a pre-recorded video or something like that. You can bring it in here, and then that works as an input.
Yeah.
But you've also got Bluetooth. So how does that work?
So you can play back USB multitrack, and any number of channels can be set to either the analog inputs or a USB input, and you could toggle each of those independently. So let's say you wanted to play guitar along with a multitrack, you can just remove the guitar channel and connect your guitar in, and you're playing along with the multitrack, and you can mix in your own instrument with other instruments. And then the Bluetooth input you could use so if somebody comes up to your live gig and says, hey, I want to play this song off my phone when I'm walking out, you could just connect wirelessly through Bluetooth to the console, and all of our consoles support that.
And then probably you want them to turn their phone on flight mode so it doesn't ring, right?
Yeah, we don't
Keep
want to hear
the Bluetooth
your
on.
messages.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right, thank you very much, Richard.
No
this has been a
problem.
great look at the Allen Heath CQ18T and the whole CQ series at NAB 2024. I'm Shawn Lamb for Streaming Media Producer.